Hi, my name is Chaz Raderschieber, and I'm the stage director for this production of Alcina. I think maybe what separates Handel from his contemporaries stylistically, I'm not a musicologist, but I can say that I think there's a kind of purity in what he creates. The goal of expressing this incredible range of human emotion through music for the voice is something that Handel does maybe better than any other composer. And it can be often surprising given the emphasis on structure in Baroque music, which I think is misleading in many ways. It makes one think that something is held in and controlled. But in fact, the structure allows for Handel to really find amazing variety in pushing that wonderful envelope of the aria style in this period. And you get in a Handel opera a kind of variety and a kind of emotional truth in combination that makes a series of arias that can be daunting. It makes them a thrill ride, for lack of a better term. It's interesting. Why did Alcina disappear? In a way, for so long. I think it's up there amongst the best of Handel's works, and it sits in that little subset of his operas that they're referred to as the magic operas. Its source material is Orlando Furioso, the great Ariosto poem, endless poem, that was the source of so many amazing libretti. I don't know why it disappeared. It's not the easiest opera in the world to produce, very honestly. It's got special effects in a way. It asks for magic and travel and multiple locations. I think sometimes that's really hard to put on the stage in a literal way, which is what's in a way that's what's thrilling about mounting a production of Alcina, is finding how to put that story and all of its sorcery on stage in a way that communicates to the audience and is special and fresh. Well, 10 years ago, when I first was thinking about creating a production of Alcina for IU and working with this fantastic designer, Robert Perziola, it occurred to us that has to be a way to describe Alcina's world, this special island that she has created. She lives her own fantasy where she has entrapped men. She's turned them into rocks and beasts. Anyone who defies her, and there's some kind of great need that she has. Something is missing, and she's got this incredible control. She seems to be, in a way, both a sorceress and a seductress. So we wanted to create a world that would be seductive in a way, even for an audience. We use the metaphor of the 18th century theater itself, the physical theater, as a metaphor for her island, something that is incredibly beautiful as you see it, but can be revealed to just be the facade. The way that Alcina is revealed to be just a facade, and what's underneath is not so beautiful after all. And so when we created the production, what you'll see is a vision of the 18th century theater that is slowly peeled away and revealed what's backstage, behind the stage, underneath, and all around. And the characters interact with that changing world. So 10 years later, to be able to come back to it, I still love the physical production. And I think that in general, when I try to return to a production that I've made before, the only real reason to do it again is to make it better and different. I've changed over 10 years. My point of view, I think maybe it moves a little bit from time to time. And then most of all, the thrill is 12 new students who are encountering it for the first time. And that dynamic between what I think about the piece and what they bring to the rehearsal process and the performances, that's sort of electric. I love that, and I love the changes that they bring to the storytelling. That's very, very satisfying when it can be fresh because the performers are fresh. They still tell this amazing story, and they tell it really well, but they do it with their own take on these 6 incredible characters. In order to describe the magic of Alcina, one has to have a point of view about what that magic really is. The magic of the opera itself isn't like a magic show. The magic is emotional. The magic is what Handel describes so beautifully in such a complex and wonderful way, which is the magic of the power of love. And so when we talk about Alcina's magic, it's a kind of false magic. It's a kind of magic wand magic. It's a kind of it's all effect with not a whole lot of meaning underneath it. It's one might even say it's a kind of magic that's used for nefarious purposes. And so the storytelling in this opera exploits the idea of showing the audience magic that is a magic trick, for lack of a better term, as opposed to the emotional magic, which is so enormous in this opera and transforms all of these characters over the 3 acts. So it's the trying to show a physical magic in one way that is counter to the true underlying emotional magic that is happening to these characters. I think that Handel really is the master of finding a way within a single opera to find the drama, the romance, the comedy, for me most importantly, the poignancy of human interaction. And maybe the most magical thing of all is how he does it. I'm not 100% sure. He does it sort of so effortlessly that from moment to moment, the audience is taken on this great ride. It's the best kind of roller coaster in a way. And in this production, I'm trying really hard to allow these moments, these truly varied moments of emotional expression, to be played out fully, and sometimes even to bump up against one another. In the darkest moments of drama, there are little smiles, laughs. Even in something that is sort of charming, a moment of charm and lightness, one feels the weight that's underneath it. And this is a hallmark of Handel's work. And I think in trying to encourage the cast to not shy away from the great variety of emotion that one can experience in a single 24 hours. All of this takes place in 24 hours. By encouraging them to explore that, I think you get the most bang for your buck. And I think it's the most fun journey for an audience as well. We're not all one thing. There is no strictly dramatic character or tragic character or romantic character. All of these characters find moments of lightness and darkness and all these wonderful shades in between. It's one of the great joys of this opera. I think when creating a Handel opera with younger singers, it can feel daunting for them. There's a kind of there are stylistic matters that they need to confront, and there's an emotional complexity that is difficult to decipher. However, I really believe that for the most part, the characters on the page themselves are younger people. And so the joy for me is, as an older person, is to see young people playing young people. And it's amazing how much more they know about these characters than they think they do. Um, there's a sort of, I love to come to rehearsal. There's a smile on my face a lot of the time, just because I can see that even though they don't know they're doing it, they're finding the center of these characters. Um, these themes of young love and youthful betrayal, uh, uh, things of this nature. All of these people have experienced these things, are experiencing them even as they rehearse this opera. And so it feels very natural in a way to have young people play these roles. And I think that you'll find in both casts, who are wonderfully different, that's just been a thrill to find the difference between these two casts. I think you'll find that their youth is a great asset to the presentation of the story. I, I think that working with young singers is, to me, I've been able to do it for my whole career, going back and forth between working with young singers in an educational situation and professional singers in the professional world. The back and forth has meant everything to me. I think that a young singer brings a freshness they don't even know they're bringing to the process and to the act of storytelling. And that actually is inspiring to me when I go work with professional singers, mid-career singers. I take with me the things that younger singers have taught me. They keep my brain working. I have a lot of questions that I have to answer that I wouldn't working with a mid-career singer. But in a way, I force myself to try to answer those questions anyway. The way that a young person would confront a character, a moment in an opera, it refreshes me, and I think it can refresh the work that I do when I'm not working with students. So I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I think that being at IU specifically has a kind of special, let's call it magic here. The scale of the theater, the scale of what they're presenting here, and the intimacy of the story, it can seem at odds. And yet, strangely enough, this production tries to find that wonderful intersection between grandeur and true emotional intimacy. And I think there's something fantastic that comes out of that combination.